Hello everybody, this is SeetherCord here, and welcome to a video on my channel that I don't really know where to put it into exactly. I say this because it's technically not a new episode of Seether Talks, but it's more so kind of a revisit to a past episode of the series. And it's also kind of a little bit like a furry review / analysis, because I'm going to be looking at another video and kind of like critiquing it and analyzing it. But for the most part, I might put it into furry review / analysis, but I don't ultimately know yet. I'll find out once I upload this video. The reason why I'm doing this is because one of my episodes of Seether Talks in the past has always kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Ever since the video originally came out, I felt like it was one of the worst videos I've ever made because it was rushed, there wasn't that much thought put into it, and ultimately made me regret even making the video in the first place. And I feel even more shame with it now because it's one of the most viewed videos on my channel. The video of mine that we will be looking at today is episode 25 of Seether Talks, which is entitled Being Fat in the Furry Fandom. The video basically was me talking about how being overweight / fat is fairly common in the world, ultimately applying to the furry fandom also, and how some people in the fandom ultimately normalize it. The overall response people had to my video was positive, but some people in the comment section said that I was being a little bit inconsiderate towards people who have certain medical conditions to where it makes them more inclined to be fat, and it's also for the most part more difficult for them to lose weight, which led to some people saying that I was illness shaming, and also that I didn't consider that it was possible for a fat person to be more physically fit and healthier than a skinny person. Know that I'm sorry and that I do feel that I was being an inconsiderate asshole in that video because of how rushed and very little thought I put into the video beforehand. So what we'll be doing today for this video is that we'll be sort of reacting to my original video, discussing things that I liked and things that I also didn't like about it, making it kind of like a furry review / analysis on myself. And the second half of the video will be me giving my current opinion on the topic as a whole, with now more thought and time put into it. So with that all out of the way, we can now begin me reviewing my own video in the past, Being Fat in the Furry Fandom, Seether Talks number 25. Let's begin, shall we? If you enjoy the content on this channel and would like to help me out with the production of more content for this channel, then please consider supporting me on Patreon, link in the description down below. I wanted to include the scene from the new Wreck-It Ralph 2 trailer that everybody's been talking about because I feel like it relates to this video perfectly. First off, you guys can easily see how rushed this video was by how we have the very still, unmoving images in the beginning and how the overall video is not even 6 whole minutes. And this was released back when my videos on average were at least 8 minutes. Now, I'm going to give a little bit of a disclaimer warning for this episode of Seether Talks. I am not fat shaming in any way. I do not think that if you're fat or if you're overweight, that makes me think that you're a bad person. I don't give a shit if you're fat, if you're skinny, if you're thick. I don't care. Just as long as you're a good person, you treat others right, I don't care about how big you are. I will say that I do think that it was good for me to disclaim that being fat doesn't make you a morally bad person and that you shouldn't be judged by your character overall because of your weight. That is a stance that I still keep to this day and I do think is the best part of this really flawed video of mine. The reason why I say this is because there are quite a few people who I've met before who claim that the reason why they're so overweight wasn't their own fault. It was because like, oh, I was abused, or oh, I have an anxiety problem, so I have to eat a bunch of Oreos every day. This next part about how I do think that it is ultimately your own responsibility for whether or not you are fat is something that I do still stand by. But I didn't like the way that I presented it. Like, I felt the part where I said, oh, I was abused, so I have to eat a pack of Oreos every day, was more so insulting and just flat out mean-spirited and unnecessary. One little extra detail that's kind of similar to that also bothers me is the certain people who try to pull off that being fat is healthy. I'm sorry, but it's not. I'm sorry to disagree, but being fat is not healthy in any real virtual way. This is the one aspect where I messed up. I said that if you are fat, then that means that you are not healthy. I should have instead stated that if you are overweight / obese, then you are more likely to be less healthy than a skinny person. But that's not always the case because it is possible to be fat but also be healthy. I believe that the people who are fat and healthy most of the time are the ones who eat the right foods and get in enough physical exercise, but also maybe eat too much of the healthy foods and don't correctly handle portion control, or simply just have a bad metabolism. If you are overweight or obese, you are at higher risk for both diabetes and heart disease, as well as even leg problems. Also, obesity is one of the top leading killers of preventable deaths in the world. The last part that I will discuss from this video is that I do still stand by how you are responsible for your own body and that I don't believe being fat is ultimately healthy. But I will clarify that for the latter, that being fat isn't healthy for the most part because people who get fat for the most part are people that ingest very unhealthy foods and don't get in that much physical exercise. And that's pretty much all of what we'll be covering for my prior video on this subject. For the most part, I do think that most, but not all, of the things that I stood for in my previous video on this subject were correct, but that I shouldn't have rushed it and came off as an asshole and assumed that my opinions on the subject were fact. That was very wrong of me, and ultimately ruined the whole video. Because when it comes to having to express your opinion about something or making a stance for something to other people, ultimately it doesn't matter what your opinion exactly is, it more so matters how you express your opinion and how you handle yourself when you're presenting it to whether or not people will stand by you when you present your opinion. So with that all out of the way, we can now talk about my overall current opinion on the subject of being overweight as a whole. So I'll give you guys a kind of TLDR, or too long didn't read, in a way. Overall, I still believe that being fat is not healthy. I'm not saying that you are a bad person based on your size at all. It's on the inside that matters at the end of the day. It is possible to be healthy while fat, but for the most part it's not, and that's because at the end of the day it ultimately comes down to diet and exercise, and for the most part people who are overweight handle those two factors not that well. And lastly, if you are trying to give off the message that being overweight/obese is okay, then I'll personally have to disagree because it increases your risk of diabetes, with the extra weight puts on more issues onto your organs, heart, and legs. And that's overall all that I have to say about being fat in the furry fandom, or not really being in the furry fandom, but just being fat as a whole, really. I want to disclaim for this video that if you guys disagree with my opinions or got mad, know that I'm not stating them as fact anymore, like I did in the last video. If you disagree with me and have a different statement on the whole subject, let me know down in the comment section down below. So that pretty much wraps up this video for today. If you enjoyed my content and want to further help out my channel, please consider donating to my Patreon page, hitting that like button, turning on that notification bell, and subscribing altogether. I have been SeetherCord, and I will see you guys next time, so goodbye everyone. I feel like I want to make a joke or so for the end of this video, but I'm kind of not going to do that because of how pissed off certain people already were with the last video, so I don't want to like get them tempered up again, so I'll just see you guys later, so goodbye everyone. Oh boy, got Yoshi again. My cheek's big, I got mumps. Yoshi has the mumps, oh my god.